Crafting buddies, it is late night Lori from Lori's Little Bit of Craftin'. Welcome. Let's just try to get my devices set up here so I can watch who might be joining. And that's not what I wanted. Let me just get my other device up here. There we go. Alrighty. So I have kind of a mess going on here because I've been playing for just a few minutes, but I also need to find the charging cable for my phone because I fear we are going to run out of juice in a little bit. Let's try to reposition this just a little bit. So you can see I've been having some stuff going on here. So let me go try to find a charging cable. Do not want to run out of power if I can help it. Hello, Yuda. I am just trying to get my phone plugged in here. So that we don't get shut down partway through. I'm getting there. Maybe. This cable might not be long enough. Doesn't it just figure? All right, what does this go to? All right, I gotta find another method here. Oh, maybe. It's always a struggle, right? All right, I'm trying another extension cord here. It's probably not the best way to handle this with extension cords, right? But it is what it is. I'm getting there. All right. How are you, Yuda? There, I think we're all plugged in now. We should be good. All right. So, what day is it? It's Monday. Or is it Tuesday for you, Yuda? I forget. So I'm not sure how many people we'll have here tonight. I'm not sure if MacMan is going to be here. I know Juju is traveling. Hello, Tanya. Welcome. And I don't remember where we left off yesterday. Monday, 10 p.m. Okay. So you're Pacific time because it's just a little after midnight here. So I think I was clicking live right at 11:59. So do you remember where we left off yesterday? Was I going to do, so Tanya, you're 7:05 p.m. Tuesday. Yeah, you're way far ahead of us. So you're 15 hours ahead. 17, no, 19. Are you in New Zealand, Tanya? Because I've got that as 19 hours ahead, which would be 7 p.m. I think, by you. Okay, so New Zealand, 7 p.m. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. So whoever was, I don't remember who was here when I was finishing last night. We were trying to do that water painting with salt, and we ended up with some of this. We were just kind of doing our little science experiments. You can see a little bit of color change maybe on here if I zoom in a little bit with the salt. But I thought there was a more dramatic effect. So we played a little bit with our alcohol blends and splattered with alcohol. That worked better. And then we played with adding some extra words, but I couldn't remember where we left off. So I thought I would just kind of start fresh with a different card that I have in mind. I want to use up some of my large gold hoops and some of this paper. I think the Country Woods is still active. I should probably look it up. It was the last time I checked. Yes. All right, so this Country Woods paper is still available. I really like this piece, but I kind of had in mind a rustic kind of look with one or two of these hoops, maybe framed with some gold, figure out what color base we want, and then do some maybe pine boughs or some green foliage pieces. I should try to find some fern things, but this might work. To make a wreath on there, oops, I got some things sliding around. And I thought we would just kind of throw that together and see what that looks like. Kind of like the New Year's card that we made a while back, but turn it into Christmas. I've got some pieces of paper that I need to use up, and I got a couple of ideas in my head, so we'll just see. But I thought we could play just a couple more minutes with that watercolor paper and see where it takes us. So I did play. I did get some good variation. I still have my salt on here. I didn't brush it off yet. But it occurred to me that this Elegant Pine Snowflakes paper, some of these reverse sides have got to be a salt technique. So it almost looks like they would have used a lot of salt, or maybe, excuse me, maybe they tried to use ice or something. Who knows? But we're going to try it again. And maybe it was just the color we were using yesterday with the Flirty Flamingo. Maybe it was just too light to really see a whole lot. So we're just going to play here for a second. And I had I had a gathering here today with a couple of my gals. We didn't craft any cards. We actually made these little ornaments today with some Ferrero Rocher. Ferrero Rocher candies inside. So we made those today just to hang on our Christmas trees. And then we ate, and we had some punch and chit-chatted, listened to Christmas music. It was kind of nice. So a few hours just to ourselves. But I scooped up some of my stuff, so I don't have my catalog handy. So there's a new catalog that goes live to customers on January 6th. If you've already joined Stampin' Up, you already have access to that. Hopefully you've claimed your catalog if you like a paper one. If you need a catalog and don't have a demonstrator, and if you're in the United States, let me know, and I can send you a catalog. We're in a new paper pumpkin month. There are new add-on dies. We had new kits this month. I'm trying to think what some of the other announcements have been. Oh, the virtual card retreat is coming up on January 22nd and 23rd. That will be a two-day event. It's about 7 hours each day. We'll be making 15 cards that Stampin' Up! Has said is more advanced cards. So whether you want to try to craft along, there will be some directions. There's already a supply list. There is a kit or a collection to purchase for the class. Once you purchase that class, the virtual retreat rather, there is no registration fee. So the 2 days of directed crafting from Stampin' Up is included in your retreat packet, and then you'll have access through Facebook. They will download the videos and then re-upload them, so we will have access to those virtual classes into the future. I'm trying to think if there were any other announcements, but anyway, I had gals over, so I scooped a lot of my loose stuff, and I don't know where it is. I've been doing other stuff all night instead of putting things away like I should have. So anyway, let's find that piece of Fluid 100 watercolor paper. Now, I could just take my water painter again and wet it, but I'm kind of impatient, so I'm going to run this under the sink. And it's not super soaked, but it's a whole lot faster than using my brush, right? And then we're going to use a re-inker, excuse me. This happens to be Pool Party. Does anybody have a suggestion for a different color to play with? Maybe we should do like Cherry Cobbler. Or maybe Mossy Meadow. What are we thinking? I hope my video didn't lock up here. There we go. I see some movement now. Nobody was commenting. So, should we do a blue, a green, or a red tone? What do you think? And there is a little bit of delay with the comments. I'm just going to get this a little damper again. Just because I don't like waiting. All right. I'm not seeing any comments, so I think we're going to do I think we'll try the green. And we're just going to put a few drops. Oh, red or green. Okay, Yuta, thanks. So let's try green. See how, look at that. Isn't that cool? And then we'll let this kind of move around so it fills the paper, except maybe down at the bottom so we can put a sentiment on here. Now, I did watch one other demonstrator who did this. She didn't put her paper under the water, but she did have it pretty wet. And she did have a darker ink. She also used her water painter to help move some of the ink around from the re-inker. Now, yesterday I brushed it on, so maybe the re-inker is the way we need to go. I don't know. This might be kind of cool. And then what she did was put the salt on, and she used sea salt. So I'm going to use my sea salt, and she put quite a bit on. And she said basically the salt kind of absorbs the water and brings the ink up from it. And then she just let that dry, which is what I did here. So then when we brush it off, you can see there's a little bit of variance here where the dark is. Not nearly as dramatic as this, but still I think it turned out better than with the light color we had yesterday. We had the Flirty Flamingo. So I'm going to let this dry. And hopefully I didn't put on too much of the inker. It looks pretty dark, right? We'll see. It's always an experiment, you know, when you haven't tried it ahead. I mean, I did with the pool party, but not a whole lot. And I did use my heat gun to dry that off. I just put it at the low setting. So I think I'm just going to set this aside. And then we can kind of move on to this card quick, and we'll check on that other one in a minute. Or 2 or 3. It'll have to dry. So I was thinking, let me find the right base. I was thinking some pool party. And make sure that's 8.5 by 5.5. I'm going to score it at 4 1/4 to make our base. And then I'm thinking a matte in gold. I just have to find my gold. Got my gold because there's kind of, it's not metallic on here, but there's kind of gold tones on there. So I was thinking the gold might look nice. And I don't think I've opened this one yet. So if you celebrate Christmas, are you ready for Christmas? I am not. I do not have our Christmas tree up. I have a wreath up. I have a little wooden snowman decoration on our front porch. And that is about it. I feel like I'm way, way far behind. So I'm going to cut this down to, we'll say 4 1/4. No, we'll say 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to gut this out with a die because it seems like a shame to hide all of that gold. So we're gonna maybe do that one. Oh, we can do that one that's a little bit bigger. I'm gonna go ahead and cut that out. And that way I'll have that other piece. I can use that centerpiece. So what's on everybody's agenda for the week with the holidays coming? Anything? I should have probably tilted that a little bit because I've got a straight edge going through the machine, but it worked out okay. Hopefully I won't trip on that. So if we end up putting this here, not this one, if we end up putting that there, and if we cut this down to 3 1/4 by 5, that should be the next layer size. So that could go there, or we could actually frame it like that too. That might be a bit much with the look. We'll have to see. We could rough up the edges of that paper, our pattern paper. And then we need some pine pieces and or some other foliage pieces to make our wreath. Or kind of like a spray. I'm not going to do a whole wreath around there. I just kind of have it in my head to have it like at the top or the bottom. And then we could probably do a poinsettia with our red velvet. And the velvet is still available too. So let's put this away. Everybody's quiet tonight. Juju did not do a live tonight, right? Because she's out of town. I saw she had a video on earlier. I watched part of it. So I took this pool party and I started doing some ink blending with Garden Green and Old Olive, just to give it kind of like a blue spruce-ish kind of look. So we'll see how that looks on here. I'm gonna run these through my machine. I'm not gonna pull it up again just for ease of the desktop here. I'm gonna have to get my pokey tool. Those didn't change color a whole lot. So let's do another one and let's do a little bit more ink blending on there. Let's do some more of the Garden Green. I still want some of the pool party to show through because I want that bluish tint in there, but I want the green a little darker, I think. And I'm not too worried about blending off before I start so that I don't have the big smudge of color. I'm fine with that because when we die cut it, it's not going to look that way. And then let's do some Old Olive. I've got that out here too. So Tanya, did you have a long day? You're pretty quiet because you've been all the way through your Monday and all the way through your Tuesday already. Let's cut a few more of these. see if these look better. Those are a little more green. And if we mix them up, I think it'll work. That one's nice and dark. And then I'm just going to do a couple more out of these pieces that are left here. I posted a video a little while ago of my granddaughter making her gingerbread guys yesterday when she was doing her heat embossing. And she's talking about how she's got her brother's friends at school that she did like 23 of them, and she had 21 to do because she got a new person in her class. So she was explaining all that in like 30 seconds for her little video. So I posted that here, and I posted on my Facebook page too. She's like, Grandma, can we make a video of it? She loves making videos. All right, I think that will be enough of those. But then let's get the red velvet. And we'll do a few poinsettias too. I guess we gotta poke that one out too. And then I'll get a little piece of yellow to go behind that. And I'm just gonna do 2 more of those. Those came out really nice. So this velvet cuts really nice. It cuts as good as any paper. Oh, it's got nice straight edges on there. All right, 3 will be good for a cluster of poinsettias. And then I just need to go grab a small piece of yellow. So we'll have to see if we want crushed curry. And it might not really make a big difference. Might not make a big difference once it's in there. I think the bright might look better. So I'm just gonna go find a little circle punch maybe. That'll be easy. It's retired, but this is a 1/2 inch. Let's get rid of all these little dots too. So we had like an invasion of gingerbread guys here yesterday. They were all over a couple of tables, and then my granddaughter was doing a lot of the die cutting, and then I had set up my Stamparatus for her to drop in the gingerbread men so that she could get them all stamped uniformly. And then she was watching me do the embossing powder, and she's watched that before. But she was getting everything cut and the Versamark on them so quickly that I was falling behind. So I was distracted doing something else, and she came over and she started putting the tweezers on so that she could use the heat gun. So we got her going with the heat gun, and she was having a blast. She's going to be 8 in just 2 weeks. So she has fun spending time in the craft room. Maybe someday she'll take over my studio. She's been crafting with me since she was 2, because I found some pictures of her, and it was before her 3rd birthday, and she was handling the block like a pro, doing some stamping. Now these pieces that are ripped on there, I don't really care because I want it to have kind of that rugged look. Just roll some of these corners a little bit. It's been so cold here, my thumbs are starting to crack. I put super glue on this one, but it's still pretty tender. It was a little warmer today. We got into the 20s when the sun was out. I think that'll be all right. Maybe we'll try to rough up the gold a little bit too. I don't know how that works. I've never tried it. I want to be a little more careful so I don't cut up the edge, because it's a white core, so it's probably not going to look quite as nice. But we can make it a little rustic. And I think too, we could probably get some pecan pie ink and distress that a little bit too, so it's not quite so shiny. But that might not dry all the way either. So I think maybe we'll just do this. All right, and this will go here. And then we'll put some of these foliage pieces here. I kind of want them going opposite directions. I'm surprised we didn't get 2 different shapes for these to have them make like a spray. It didn't occur to me before. We'll Add some little pine things in here. Do you see where I'm going? Do you think that works? I think the pine, I'm going to have to take these apart. That's got a little piece still stuck in there. There we go. I'll take these apart too. Just have kind of like a spray on there. And then if we put our poinsettias on there, I'll put those on dimensionals, I think. Any opinions? And then maybe stamp a sentiment right in the middle there. What do you think? Kind of a rustic Christmas. Or wonder if this Merry Christmas might be a little big to put on there. Let's see what else I have. Maybe a Merry Christmas right in the middle. What do you think of that? I kind of like that. All right, let's put this on a block. And then I think I'm going to use, I think we'll do Secret Sea, because it's not quite black, but it's not really a blue. So I don't know that I'll like the, hello Susan. I don't know if red would look very good on that wood grain paper. Sunny Melbourne. Well, it's dark where I am, so there might be sun out. I mean, the moon might be out. We might have moon shadows. But it's cold here still. All right, and I'm going to wipe the edge of this stamp because I got a little overzealous there. I don't want those edges to get picked up on my paper. How was your day, Susan? We've got kind of a quiet group tonight. So we're going to put this right about there. I think we'll take this out of the way because I don't want to miss connecting with the paper if there's that frame under there. So we'll put this like right here. Susan, you were with us last night, right? When I was experimenting with the salt. Oh, that's kind of nice. Subtle. All right, so let's put this back on here. We're going to glue this on. We were doing some salt experiment last night, And I was really looking for a more dramatic result. So I thought I'd try it with different colors tonight, or a different color. We tried it with green, so it's drying right now. And my watercolor painter, or paper rather, the Fluid 100 paper, I just put it under the faucet to get it wet because it just seemed more efficient. So if you're just coming on, feel free to say hello. Let me know where you're joining from. I think this I'll just attach down in the middle. So I had this gold, but I gutted it out so that I could use more of the gold paper and not waste it, right? You only get a few sheets with the gold, so I don't really want to waste it. So I'm doing Pool Party, and this wood grain paper is the Country Woods. We've had this for quite a bit, but it's got this Pool Party in there, and that looks like it was had some ink blending on it. So I did ink blending just on some Pool Party cardstock, so I could try to get a similar effect. So those were my cutout pieces from that. And we're just going to put some foliage things on here and kind of make a Christmas card here with the hoop. And then we'll go back to our science experiment. So I'm going to do just a couple of glue dots on here. I'm going to roll them up. So 30 degrees by you, Susan, which would be 86 here. That sounds absolutely wonderful to me. I could use your help here with my Christmas decorations. It's been too cold. I can't even put my decorations outside because it has been too cold. And I have a nativity scene that I put out that's like a big, it's not, I don't think it's wood because it's pretty light. It's probably like some kind of, it's not really a plastic-y, so it's not like it gets cold and it cracks. But it's that kind of material, I guess. I don't know. It might be lined. It might be wood that's laminated, but it's not super heavy. But anyway, I have a nativity scene. I usually put it out at the first part of December, and I didn't get it out, and now it is so horribly cold by us. So you're not doing the salt thing? No, you don't have to apologize. I don't think I'll do the salt thing anymore either. It's easier to find the paper that they've already done it for me, right? But I figured I'd give it a try. It did work a little bit better with the different color, I think. All right, so there's that. So let's go ahead and put these pieces kind of back on here. Oh, you don't like the feel or the smell of it. See, I don't use that much salt because, you know, it's not good for us, right? When you've got high blood pressure through, you know, family medical history. And I try not to use a whole lot of extra salt. So I don't usually add it when I cook. And there's just a couple of things that I like the flavor on, like my eggs. I like to have just a few granules of salt. And when I say just a few granules, I don't mean I shake it. I mean literally I put the salt in my hand and just use a few granules. So I'm just kind of forcing these to curl or to curve. Opposite of how the die was. And then I've got these little pine pieces. So we used branching out and label me grateful, I think is what I have for here. And then all of our ends we're going to cover up with the poinsettias. I didn't really think salt had that much of an aroma or an odor, depending on your perspective. I guess I just never really paid attention. I'll take just a little bit off of that one, I think, so I can kind of tuck it under there. So what about Christmas cards? You said you were working on yours, Susan. Do you have them all out and mailed? I have a lot made, but I need to sit down and address them and get them in the mail. I think we'll just kind of put that across there. Oops. Maybe one more pine on there maybe, huh? Maybe I don't even need this other one. Guess we'll go this way maybe, huh? All right. So these I think we can put on dimensionals. Maybe if I can get the backing off. And then we can put some glue on these. I really like this velvet specialty paper. Now I did one other card where I used dimensionals and I had a lot of layers of the velvet and the dimensionals didn't stick real well. Onto the velvet. So that's why I'm doing just pretty much a single layer of the velvet so that I don't have to worry about how well it's going to stick, because the glue should hold it really well. I'll still put glue on them, but I don't know how well it's going to hold against the other layers of velvet. And then one more should be able to go right about there. And then this way I don't have to worry about any of the glue seeping into those little flower holes there. So that yellow shows really nicely. And that ended up being, I think, the Daffodil Delight is what I used. I pulled out Crushed Curry and the Daffodil Delight, and I just liked the brighter yellow better. Well, that's kind of fun, I think. What do you think? We need some gems, though. Definitely need some gems. Or maybe some gold sequins would be good. So let's put just a couple around here. See if I can find one that's not super huge. I want it to flip over. There we go. So you have yours all done. I'm impressed. And you've been helping your mom. Oh, awesome for you. I think we'll just put maybe a couple more up here. And this would be a good opportunity for me to let this set. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll do another one maybe over here. If I let that set for just a couple minutes, when I put the sequins down, they'll stay better right away. So I'm going to let that just cure for a little bit. Let me clean that off. And then we can bring in our other piece here. I hope to get my cards pretty well set tomorrow. Like I said, I've got a ton of cards made, so it's not the issue of needing to get cards crafted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Am I missing a die? Or did I count wrong? I always try to count them before I put them away. So this goes here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. All right, I have them all. And I try to write on here how many dies I have because it's easier to read there than it is to read this little itty bitty number down there. So those are good. And I don't want to lose any of my dies, so I want to try to get them put away right away. And that's why I have my magnet too, so that I can just throw my dies over on the magnet and hopefully not lose anything. Alright, so that's the Label Me Grateful dies. And we can get some of this stuff out of the way. I could have put a separate ring on there, I suppose, but I didn't. So I only have a few of these left, so hopefully I'll get some more use out of those rings. And then let's keep this off to the side so I don't make a mess out of it. And then let's bring in our little salt project. So here's the one I did ahead of time. And you can see where the salt kind of, maybe you can't, but let me try to zoom this in a little bit. So there's some variations in the color here. You can see it, I can see it on the lighter parts too, but it shows up better on the darker parts, but still not nearly as dramatic as this, which is kind of what I was shooting for. And now this one, this paper is still kind of damp because I ran it under the sink instead of just using my water painter. So let's just put our heat gun on low. And it looks like the salt kind of absorbed some pink hues rather than just green. So on this I used Mossy Meadow, which is maybe too dark. Maybe I shouldn't have used such a dark ink. But what I did is after I wet this under the sink, I just used the re-inker instead and put a few drops on there. And you can see where those drops went, obviously. Not the best experiment, but I wanted to be able to see what all the color would do. You know, having not just used my water brush or the water painter from yesterday. So I'm doing the drying on both sides so it kind of uncurls the paper a little bit. And I can tell it's still a little damp because the heat changes the shape of the paper. And if it was all the way dry, pretty much it's going to keep its shape. So I think that's a good start where I can brush off that salt. And that's, you know, that actually almost looks like pine boughs in there. Can you see how the veins are in there? Now, if I was to do kind of a wreath design there, that would probably be pretty cool. Because it almost looks like branches, you know, muted branches. So let me get rid of this. And if we got branching out back to the table. Or maybe a couple of pine cones would be fun. And maybe this scrap. Maybe we'll cut a couple of those out of here. We've got one left here. And maybe we wouldn't even do a wreath. We could just do some branches coming across with a sentiment. Or maybe put the sentiment at the bottom in dark. But I need a pine cone too. Don't want to forget the pine cone. We'll do that out of this wood grain. I think I have enough room now. I can bring my machine back up here. Let's see how this looks. I think that kind of gives a nice variation of colors. What do you think? Let's do a little bit more of that. And a couple more pine cones. And we'll do another sentiment. And we'll call it a day. So at least this watercolor piece didn't go to waste. Because I really didn't have anything in mind for what I was going to do with it. I just wanted to, whoops. I just wanted to try to see if I could get that more dramatic salt effect on there. All right, so I think I'm done with that piece. And then where did my pine cone here? We'll do one more pine cone. Well, thank you, Susan. Oh, I suppose I could put this back out a little bit, huh? It's kind of hard to see when I've got it too zoomed in. All right, so there's our third pine cone. As long as I don't lose any, we'll be good. So let's get this back out of the way. I'm just breaking things down here. So then I have to kind of figure what color base would be good for this. Or maybe, should we dress that up a little bit by maybe cutting it into a frame shape? That might be nicer. So I think that looks nicer. And I'll trim those down to fit. I think they actually look better coming from the right-hand side for some reason. Cluster a few pine cones on here. Those can go up on dimensionals. They might need a little Wink of Stella on them. And then maybe a piece of Mossy Meadow cardstock as the base. And of course, I didn't have a Mossy Meadow ready to go. So that was pretty easy. So that can go there. And now, funny thing, with the salt, it made these reddish marks. So, of course, I want to use some of these berries in here because I think that would just accentuate that a little bit more even. And then I think if we do another layer in Cherry Cobbler, or the velvet might give it some nice texture. Let me run the velvet through here and see how that looks. I like that. I actually think these berry pieces need to be cut out of the velvet though. I think they would look nicer out of the velvet. Because then not only will they be the exact same color, they'll be the same texture as that. And so as not to waste all of that velvet, I am going to gut out the center of that. Let's take these off. Let's go ahead and get our pine cones here. And, whoops, bling those up with some Wink of Stella. Like they've got some frost or something on them, right? I think I need a little bit more juice in there. Ooh, that was a lot. That was more than I expected to come out. I'll just transfer it. These will be really shimmery. There, that'll be good. That will be all right. All right, let's cut the center of this velvet out so that I'm not hiding all of that beautiful velvet. All right, and then this piece I can have under here. That'll look nice. And then this piece I can use. This piece I'm still going to break down to tuck. We'll add our little pine cones. It seems like those pine cones should be bigger to me, but it is what it is. Maybe they're just baby pine cone buds. I like how the salted experiment gives it depth. Like you're looking into the forest, you got a branch really close and then you've got some branches further back. I think that looks pretty cool. All right, and then the last thing I need to do is find a sentiment for that too. And I think this one, Wishing You Peace and Joy, would work really well. So if I put it on a banner there, I could do it on cherry cobbler and maybe emboss it in gold, or do you think that would be too much? Or maybe white would be better. The gold might end up being too dark. But I think it needs to be shimmery letters. let me go get some cherry cobbler to do that sentiment on. All right, let's move this up out of the way. And we'll get Embossing Buddy. Hopefully I'll have enough Versamark left on my ink pads because my granddaughter used quite a bit stamping all her gingerbread guys this weekend. And if you came in late, I posted a video both here in YouTube and on my Facebook page. It's just like 25 seconds, but it shows her doing her heat embossing. So for an unplanned card, I am really happy with that. All right, I did my Embossing Buddy. Let's do some Versamark on here. And I think maybe I'm going to do gold and white. We'll see which one we like better. Here's the white. And here's the gold. I wonder if I actually have a bronze or a copper. Yes, copper. Because these pine cones look kind of coppery with that Wink of Stella on there. Let's get some of this debris out of the way here, right? Got a lot of stuff going on. I don't know where the cap to my snips went. It'll turn up. All right, oh, there it is. See, I told you to turn up. All right, it's always like a little avalanche here, my goodness. All right, so let's do that one. And we're going to do copper. All right, let's see how this looks. I love watching the embossing powder change. There we go. It's just magical. Oh, and that's one other thing my granddaughter, the Versamark, when she had her little video. I did one that her face showed that I just sent to her mom. And she said, and I'm putting on the magic ink. So the Versamark was magic ink to her. I thought that was pretty cute. Lid. So the copper looks really nice. Put gold away. I don't know if we'll even need it in white. Let's trim this down and see how it looks. Oh, that's a little crooked. Let's see if I can get this straightened out a little bit. See if I can do a little bit better on this one. Oh yeah, that worked better. So there's in gold. Do you think we even need to try it in white, or does the gold, or the bronze rather, the copper, look good? What do we think? Does that copper look nice? Can you see it? Whoop, that whole thing shifted. I'm trying to make that copper shimmer a little bit. So you could do this design obviously without the salt, but it did pull out some of the different colors that are used to make that shade. So you can see how those letters look there. That's pretty cool. I think we'll probably put that down just a little further. The copper's good. Should I even try it in the white or not? I think that copper looks really nice. I think we'll just leave it at that. I do. I think we will leave it at that. So let's go ahead and put some of these things together. And get my workspace back in order. All right, pardon my reach. Clean off my stamp here. Get rid of some of the little bits, but we will start with this. Oh, and then we could probably put the sequins on this too. Some of that glue is pretty well cured. Don't let me forget that. Where did I put the sequins? They're out here somewhere. So I'm putting just a very thin line of the liquid glue. I've said it before, but if your fingers are getting sticky from glue, it means that you're using too much. All right. I'm still kind of looking for those sequins. They're here somewhere. I know they are. All right, then we'll do this piece. I think I'm going to put this up on dimensionals this time. And I'm going to use the black dimensionals. Just because these are all dark layers. I tell you, my take your pick tool has got to be my favorite tool. I use it all the time. So now I'm wondering, should I put that up like it's a light sky, or should we put it down below? I'm almost thinking it might be better this way. Any opinions? Of course, if I put it down this way, that's how I had it before. This might be more realistic, like sky, or you could brush a little green to make it less bright. Since I didn't let my ink go all the way down there. I think I still, yep, I think it still needs to be that way. Thank you, Susan. I just saw your comment. Okay. All right, and this is going to go up on an adhesive strip, just because then I can get it done in one fell swoop. And well, maybe we'll do two just so it doesn't wobble. This turned out to be quite a fun card. I like it. Just little accidents, you know, you just sometimes never know how it's going to turn out. And again, I used a salt technique on there. This is watercolor, the Fluid 100 watercolor paper. And rather than just use my brush to get it wet, I just ran it under running water briefly. And I'm just laying these berries where I hope that they'll look okay. We're just going to hope that's all right. And then these branches were from another watercolor paper piece that I tried the salt effect. And I don't know that that's something I will try again. I wasn't really that impressed. Okay, did I lose a pine cone? There it is. Phew. I'm going to use a dimensional for the pine cones, I think, for all three of them. I'll put one over here. I think we'll do that. So Susan, what did your husband make for dinner tonight? And then the part of the stem where I didn't put any glue, I'm actually having these bunched up a little bit so that they're not laying flat. It might be hard to see from the video, but that's what I'm up to. And then this piece I think is just going to have to go somewhere around there, right? I think that's about where I had it before. And then we'll sneak those little pine cones in there. And then I need to find my sequins. Ooh, chicken and salad. That sounds good. That sounds very good. And I'm just kind of tucking that in the crook of the branch. I should probably have done something like that with this one too. It won't go in that one. There. That kind of camouflages where the overlap of the branches was. Well, I'll try to hurry quick so that you don't have to be delayed from my card here. All right, so there's that. That's all on there. And I think we need a little bit of splatter of Winkostella across here, just to add a little bit more shimmer, and maybe just on a couple of these branches. All right, I like that. And then I think what I'll do too is I'll get some rhinestones on here, but I will color them with my cherry cobbler alcohol blend. So now let me see what I did with those darn sequins. Do we see them anywhere sitting here? Well, what in the world could I have done with them? That's crazy. I don't see them here. Oh, they're there. Found them. Yeah, the copper I think looks good with the pine cones. The pine cones look kind of coppery with that Winkostella on them. All right, so now all I have to do is find where I put my little glue dots here, or my glue blobs. So I know there's one here. And since I've let the glue cure a little bit, they're much easier to put down. And then I don't have a gluey mess either. And these sequins are quite nice too because there's no hole in them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's all I put on there. How fun are both of these cards? So sometimes you just have to start cutting and coloring and putting stuff down on paper, right? So I usually come into this without a plan, just because Late Night Lori also procrastinates. And I count on some of you folks, excuse me, I count on some of you folks giving me suggestions as well, so that it is a collaborative effort whenever we can. And that's all I got. So loose gold sequins, some Fluid 100 watercolor paper. Using up all of my stuff. This velvet paper is delicious. It's great. I love that the velvet paper. I might have called it watercolor, but it's velvet paper. I really like it. All right, let's see. Yeah, the wreath, I like that one too. And this was the one I was actually kind of working on first because of that salt technique. But I wanted to use up some of these gold hoops, so we got a lot done. I think we got a lot done. So that's all I have, folks. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. If you're watching and are not subscribed, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. I'm always trying to grow the size of my group, and give me a thumbs up if you wouldn't mind on the way out. Feel free to share this. I will post these to my Facebook page at some point in the future. I have a lot to catch up on there. I know not as many people go to my Facebook page, so I will try to put those there. If you've got some pictures of projects you've made, find a recent post and add them to the comments. I'd love to see what you're making. So until next time, happy crafting. Enjoy your dinner, Susan. Good night, Tanya. Yuta, if you're still there. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, everybody.